Okay, so thank you for attending the online launch for How to Hold an Umbrella, the latest anthology from Retreat West Books. We got a few speakers tonight, which we're really grateful for people giving up the time to come and read and for everyone watching. I'm going to introduce our first speaker and I'll say a little bit about her before she starts reading. She's there, just found her. Right, so our first speaker tonight is going to be Caroline Green, who gave us the title for the anthology. Caroline is an English language teacher who's also worked as an editor and features writer and as a fundraiser in the theatre. Her work has appeared in the Fish Anthology 2011, Flash Magazine, Bath Flash Fiction Volume 3, the National Flash Fiction Day Anthology 2019, Flash Fiction Festival Anthology 3, Splonk, and Flashback Fiction. So we just give a warm welcome to Caroline Green.
Thank you. Would you like me to read now straight away?
Yes, please.
Okay. So my story, How to Hold an Umbrella, is very small, very short. So I'll just read the middle section, which is a sort of love story section. Okay. Okay. The autumn sweeps by in one downpour after another. She and Rafa wade through swirling streets, and clomp along the boardwalks laid out against the floods. Once, hurrying to meet him, she knocks into a jellyfish, its tendrils swaying lifeless in the rising water. She leaves umbrellas everywhere. She takes the bus out of the city during a thunderstorm, but returns under a brand new sun that sparkles from every dripping branch. So she forgets the red umbrella rolled under her feet. She loses a battle in the piazza when the wind whips up under a black brolly that is already pulling her the wrong way. In a flurry, the skin is ripped back over the spokes and it flumps to the ground where she abandons it. The tattered skeleton skims away over the square in seconds. Don't lose this one, Rafa says as he hands her a carved handle peeping out from paper wrapping. She recognizes it from Stefanelli's shop window. It's to keep you dry in England, he says, rattling on, looking at his feet, leaning into her. So that's the middle bit, and there's not much more, but that's the main part of the story.
Thank you, Caroline. That was beautifully read. And I don't know if you've seen, but Caroline has done a really lovely video as well for our YouTube channel, talking about the inspiration behind that story. So do have a look at that as well. I'll do the little applause emoji because we're on YouTube.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Brilliant. So our next reader, who we are very, very grateful to have here, is Meg Pocris. I'm excited because I've never heard Meg read live before, so this will be great. So Meg was the judge for the 29 Flash Fiction competition. I'm just going to read her very impressive biography. So Meg Pocris is the UK-based author of 7 Flash Fiction collections, an award-winning collection of prose poetry, a Flash Fiction chapbook, and a novella in Flash from the Rose Metal Press. Her latest books are The Dog Seated Next to Me, Alice in Wonderland Syndrome, and An Object at Rest. Her stories have been published in Electric Literature, Tin House, Wigleaf, Jellyfish Review, Smokelong Quarterly, McSweeney's Internet Tendency, and more than 800 literary magazines over the last 10 years, which is incredible. So we're now going to really enjoy listening to Meg Pocris.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Gaynor. So I'll read a couple pieces then. The first story I'll be reading tonight is called My Sister the Arsonist, and it was published in Electric Literature, and it just won the Biffy 50. So I'm really excited about that. I feel very honored about that. And I also want to say it's an honor to be here with all of you tonight. Your stories are just amazing. And it's just wonderful to be reading with you all. And boy, was it a hard competition. Incredible writing. So congratulations to everyone. And now I'll launch into my my reading. Okay, so My Sister the Arsonist. After Nell set Johnny's house on fire, I became a self-appointed only child. She'd be in prison for the rest of her life, but I'd cure cancer. People would soon forget that we were sisters. I discontinued wearing her old shoes, would change my last name as soon as I came of age. Dad, too, had a thing for dangerous heat, especially in Hawaii, where the sun plays an unsavory character in every scene. Dad never wore sunscreen, and he died from a melanoma after a decade of construction gigs in Maui. You burn your skin to a crisp like your father did, baking like a cookie in the sun every day of your adult life, and you get what's coming, Mom said. She wore Daddy's slippers as if her feet missed his. Daddy's mole had resembled a little black dot one day. The next week, it looked like a dog with a long pokey nose. Nell, Maria, take a look at the speck here, Dad said. We gathered around his forearm. Which of our old dogs does this cool-looking mole resemble? Back then, Nell and I laughed about the idea of a family like ours caring about the wrong things, our father avoiding something as silly and simple as a medical appointment, making a game of life's weirdness. That was right about when Nell lost her virginity to Johnny. He had been her math tutor, but she told me in private that he was teaching her some unusual calculations. I wished he was teaching me those too. She was carrying his fractions, she said, but had lost her calculator. After she burnt down his house wearing Daddy's shoes, using his cigarette lighter, Mom started drinking. She'd come home from her second job selling opera season tickets over the phone, ripping off nice old people, she said. She would sometimes bring home a cancerous-looking man to sit in our living room and smile at us awkwardly. Each one looked too tan and more at risk. And now Mom was wearing Nell's old shoes, the sexy ones with rhinestone straps that I used to borrow. Mom and I were the only ones left standing, but our feet were in confusion, our borders redefined. The next story I'll be reading is called Trophy Wife, and it was inspired by The Hissing of Summer Lawns by Joni Mitchell. I've been writing some flashes to songs. Trophy Wife. Oh, this was published in Vox Populi magazine. Jack brought me the diamond brooch and said he'd never been so sure. The new house in the Hollywood Hills was made of windows, and the brooch reflected off the glass, nearly blinding me. From the living room, I could see the barbecues down in the valley, messy, happy families with their useless cars, concrete driveways, musical hula hoops, and kids. The blue dots from far-off pools reminded me of Jack's eyes, the aquamarine eyes of a wolf. But it was the sound of our lawn, the hiss of sprinklers that chilled me. That year, Jack erected a barbed wire fence to keep the scum out and keep the Mansons away. There are creeps all over the hills, riffraff moving in. Jack said, "Look at those VW vans." Once Jack showed me how the barbs work. He ran his fingertips over the fence and let the blood bloom on the tips. 5 dripping tips. They almost looked like roses, as if he were handing me roses. "You need help," I said. This was the only time I said it. When he was away for business those long, quiet, hot days, I danced behind our barbed wire fence. Latin drums beat hard inside my legs. I wondered about the houses behind us. Who was staring down at me in the dark? The world had become too hard and too easy. On the TV, black and white movies reminded me there was never enough color in my life, never the right amount of contrast. A childhood dog, a mother and father, like faded movies of a life washed out early. There was a diamond welded to my throat and a rescue dog who looked as confused as I did, our street dog reflections barking us right. There were rooms in Jack's house that nobody ever sat in, many beds to sleep in alone, a small dark room of Chippendale. The dog asked why I turned out the lights, why I had sat in the gloaming and stared at the winking lights below. I remembered the old man in front of the Hollywood sign carrying a cup, wobbling on a cane, who told it to me straight. "You're what they call a trophy wife," he said. "Get out of here, kid." I reminded the dog that those of us who are lucky enough to live up here on Blue Jay Way are fine until the sprinklers start hissing beneath our feet. Thank you guys very much. That'll be it.
Thank you so much, Meg. That was amazing. I love that idea of writing to music. I've never thought to do that.
It's really, really fun and inspiring. Yeah, it's great.
I'll try it. Oh, just
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Meg. We really appreciate you being here. And also, as Amanda said, we really appreciate you judging the competition for us as well. Fantastic. Okay. Oh yes, I was just saying, is Sherry here? I'm wondering if that's a real background on Sherry or if that's what Scotland is looking like tonight. We'll have to see what she tells us. So our next speaker, speaking of flash fiction, is Sherry Morris, who won first prize in our 2019 flash fiction competition. Originally from America's heartland, Sherry Morris writes prize-winning flash fiction and short stories from a farm in the Scottish Highlands, where she watches clouds, pets cows, and scribbles stories. That just sounds so nice, doesn't it? So in February 2020, she joined the BBC Scottish Voices Writer Development Programme and is currently writing a script. She sits on the board of Northwords now and reads for the wonderfully wacky Taco Bell Quarterly. Her first published short story was about her Peace Corps experience in Ukraine. That is quite the biography, Sherry. Right. Over to you, Sherry. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Gaynor. And I just want to say thank you to Amanda and thank you, Meg, for choosing my story. I was thrilled and honored, and it's great to see all of you here. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like this exactly right now out the window, but I did take this picture from the farm. So this was a different evening.
One second, Sherry. Okay, to just let me just try and mute Barbara because I think she's just joined us and might not know. Oh, thank God.
This is the flash called Treating the Stains and Strains of Marriage. She's in the supermarket, the laundry aisle to be precise. Today's special offer, color catchers. Aha, she says. Reaching high on tiptoe, using a mop from the next aisle, she knocks 2 rows of bright orange boxes into her cart, watches as 20, 30, maybe 50 postcard-sized cartons tumble down. She races for the checkout, running over an old lady. There's no guilt. Old ladies are past their sell-by date. She still has shelf life. In her kitchen, she tapes small white squares together into one large sheet with a fervor that would make an evangelical nod and shout, "Amen." The cat pokes its nose in, smells danger, backs out. As she works, her lips recite the product's promises like a prayer. Effective at all temperatures, prevents graying, prevents residual dirt redepositing. At prevents run accidents, she pauses. He'll need one too. Double strength knowing him. Inspired, she grabs Mr. Muscle for an added bit of sparkle. It's not cheating. Potential double coupon bonus? Unwrapping to shapely calves, a toned stomach, banished bat wings. She reads the label. Causes serious eye irritation. She shrugs. Most husbands do. There's also avoid prolonged skin contact, but that's what she craves. Decides it can't hurt any more than anything else in their marriage and applies liberally. Her skin prickles. She wonders if it's product or anticipation that makes her feel like a pincushion. She's glad a slow spin cycle is recommended. She'll hold on tight. They're meeting at 3 p.m. today. She won't think about when exactly the heavy purples and grays sneaked under the door where the cracks were too wide, how some days black pooled on the ceiling, oozed down the walls, saturating her so completely she couldn't even slide out of bed. She went crusty, rusty, musty. He asked what was wrong, but words and feelings clogged her heart. Not even a bottle of Drano had helped. He went slimy and grimy, walking in gutters, slipping down drains, disappearing for weeks at a time. She no longer wanted his dirty hands on her. He moved out, and dark blues swallowed her whole. But the cat demanded to be fed, that she get out of bed. This and long soaks in fabric conditioner were the start. She marveled at the crud that slid down the plug hole. A vow is not just for now, he had said. They'd both been so light, so bright back then. She rang him while holding a bottle of Febreze, suggested they meet in soft furnishings. Now, cocooned within her sheet, she waits for it to work. The cat arrives to check on her. Color catchers have a money-back guarantee, she says. But that's not what I want back. The cat yawns, stares at her with clear glass green eyes, begins his own methodical wash. She admires his agility, his self-care ability, the mix of colors in his calico coat. She remembers the rainbow she'd seen that morning, how its faint arc brightened the dark sky. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. So creative. Well done, and congratulations on winning first prize. Okay. So we have come to our final reader for the evening, who is Louise Farr. I hope I'm saying that right.
Yes.
Who won second prize in the 2019 short story competition. So I'll read Louise's bio before her reading. Louise Farr is a teacher and writer from Northern Ireland. In 2018, she was the winner of the Benedict Keeley Short Story Competition and the Trisha Ashley Award. In 2019, she won the Ink Tears Short Story Competition and the Dalkey Writing Festival Short Story Competition. She was a finalist in the 2018 and 2019 Dueling Writers Weekend Short Story Competition and won third prize in the 2019 TSS Flash 400. These bios are very impressive tonight, aren't they? She was longlisted for the 2019 Bristol Short Story Prize and shortlisted for the Bridport 29 Short Story Prize. One of her short stories appears in Still Worlds Turning, an anthology of short stories published by No Alibis Press. So, over to you, Louise.
Hi, everybody. It's great to be here tonight. I'd just like to say a big thank you to the judges and the team at Retreat West, and also Gaynor for all our hard work organising the launch. So my story is called Whale Watching, and it's about eating disorders and a young woman called Anna who wants to be a whale. So I'm just going to read a little extract. The blue whale is the largest animal on Earth. It has a tongue as big as an elephant and a heart the size of a small car. The arteries are so big that a human could swim through them. When I was born, I weighed the same amount as a bag of sugar. The nurse called me a dainty wee doll and said I was the spit of my mother, who weighed less than a swan feather. She named me after Anna Pavlova. My little pudding, she laughed at my first ballet class, when my 3-year-old knees were as soft as cookie dough. I listened to the plink plonk of the piano and tried to point my pink leather toes. That was when I could still see my feet. She died when I was 10. She forgot to eat, so they put her in a hospital and gave her a plastic tube from her nose to her stomach. I wasn't allowed to visit after that. They tried everything, but her heart stopped working. It shrank to the size of a sugar plum. They told me at school, so my father didn't have to. He was making the arrangements, said the nanny, who had already booked her flight to New Zealand. I went up to my room and looked at the black and white photograph that I kissed every night. She glittered from a silver lake as I took a family-sized bar of chocolate out of my backpack and bit down hard on it. Sometimes I ate until my stomach hurt. My father sent me to Camp Olympus, where we dangled helplessly from high ropes and learned the correct portion sizes on a plate. I smuggled in Pop-Tarts and Snickers bars that melted in my sleeping bag. After the summer holidays, my bra bit into my sides and showed under my school shirt. I stopped going to school, so my father found me a new one. It was progressive, he said, which meant that it was for social rejects who knew how to ski. Once I told the school counsellor that I wanted to be a whale. She said it was understandable, considering the family circumstances, but she hadn't received any training for girls who identified as giant sea mammals. I left school at 16. Now I work in a call centre on an industrial estate beside a 24-hour drive-through that reels me in like a bucket of chum. I have my own wooden box and a script that tells me what to say if a customer threatens to kill himself. We have a high staff turnover because not many people want to sit in a box and tell biodads to cough up for their kids. They give me dog's abuse and tell me what they're going to do to me. That's not very nice, I say. Sometimes the line goes dead. Once I made whale clicking noises without thinking, and someone complained to our team leader. Probably Marion, who has crispy hair and plucks out her chin hairs at her desk. They gave me a card with care call on it and advised me to swim with dolphins in my own time. It's Monday or Tuesday, who knows, when the boss asks if he can have a chat. Bring your coffee, he says. I follow him into his office and there's a girl standing there with bright pink hair and red lipstick and half a dragon squeezing out of her cleavage. I can almost hear Marion saying, another circus freak. This is our new start, he says. I have a name. The boss is totally scundered. It's Doll, she announces. Short for Dolly, not Dolores. I'm Anna, I say. She's bigger than me. How is that possible? But she doesn't care. Everything about her is bright and shiny, as if she didn't get the memo about hiding under a rock. She has pink hair and red lips and a sundress with giant pineapples that shows off her bra straps and her sunburn. She fills up the room without even asking. I've never met another person like me. So where do you go out? She asks. I don't go out much, I say. Dole takes me to the pub after work. We get very drunk. The next day, I get a taxi to work, although I should have booked a hearse. The boss is in meetings all day, so I try and avoid Marion in case she smells my breath and files another complaint. Dole isn't there. I text her, but there's no reply. That night, I order extra toppings, side orders, double cheese. The doorman concentrates on his computer, and a woman in the lift gives me a dirty look. The buzzer goes again. I press it, and her voice shudders my food coma. Open up, Flipper! She booms. She sounds drunk. We're going swimming, she announces. It's high tide. The sea is black, and the seafront is quiet, with all the curtains shut. I can hear the waves swishing over the rocks and fizzing out at the end of the sand, and I wonder what's out there, deep in the ocean. Do whales swim at night? They can't sleep, or else they would drown. I look around, and there's no one about. The lights glitter and wink on the horizon. I could swim there tonight if I wanted. The water is freezing, but I keep walking. I start laughing, and Dole joins in, It's so cold, we yell in high-pitched voices. I bob in the water like a cork. The water is up to my waist, and when I let myself fall, I'm weightless, like those men on the moon. The dancers that defy gravity, the whales who breach to get a breath when the water is choppy and the spray sucks up all the air. I lie on my back and float. I can see my toes and I'm not cold anymore. I could swim thousands of miles, cruise entire continents if I wanted to. I start swimming and I don't stop, even when I hear Joel screaming for me. Later on, the psychiatrist asked me politely if I tried to drown myself, and my father left for a business trip at the other side of the world. I don't see Joel again. When I phone the pub, they say that she's gone away. The boss phones and tell me I have a disciplinary meeting when I get back. I tell him I'm going to rub off his scales with the back of my knife. Then I'm going to stick a knife in his tail end and pull out his guts. Then I put the phone down. I clean the apartment and I type whale watching trips into my phone. And there's people on a small boat with waterproof jackets, as if the sea couldn't swallow them up if it wanted to. I book 2 seats on the plane and I charge it to my father's credit card. Then I get out my sketchbook and I draw a girl swimming, but she's not alone. There are dark shapes dancing in a slow waltz, and the sea is a stage, an open call. Thank you.
Thank you, Louise. Such a brilliant story. I should say Angela Redman, who was the short story judge, she wanted me to pass on her apologies that she couldn't be here tonight, and to send her best wishes to everybody and to say congratulations to those short story winners. Okay, so thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to everybody who read, and the people watching this on catch up, please buy the book. And when you have read it, please leave reviews for it. If we can all unmute ourselves to do a round of applause for everybody just before we go. You know how to do it? Let me see. There we go. I'll start. Thank you so much, everybody who contributed. Amanda, as she said, she's always blown away by the quality of entries that we get. And before I started working for Retreat West, I used to enter the competitions and never got anywhere. And then when you hear readings like that, you think, and that's why I never got anywhere. Right. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Gaynor. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.